Hello, and welcome to the Muses Lab, your destination for all things pleasure as it relates to our human experience, relationships, spirituality, and sexuality. I invite you to join me on this adventure of discovery and hope what you receive inspires you to become the muse of your life's journey. So without further ado, let's explore. Hello, and welcome to the Muses Lab podcast. I'm your host, Siobhan L. And yeah, I feel like it's been a minute, even though it hasn't been a minute. And I am going back to a conversation that I had with my fam, Kirstenosity. Her name is Kirsten, but her Instagram name is Kirstenosity, which is like pretty dope. And her and I were having a conversation, and I was talking about, we were talking about careers and LinkedIn specifically, and there has been this post that I have wanted to post on LinkedIn, and I've been hesitant about it. And it's not even just on LinkedIn, it's just in general. I've been hesitant about it because I created I'm going in for the gusto. I created this narrative in my head that people are constantly watching me, which may not be wrong. That may not be wrong, but I created this narrative in my head that people are constantly watching me and stalking me in some sense of the word and looking to see what I'm doing, like keeping tabs on me. And if I put this post out, it may be me or could be me feeding into the narratives that they have created about me. I need to find my therapist or find another therapist because insurance. But anyway, as I'm saying all of this out loud, I'm recognizing how unwell that sounds. But that is the narrative that I created in my head. And there may be some other people who may have done similar things or may have similar experiences. But I told myself if I put this content out, that the people who are keeping tabs on me, whoever these people are, I have an idea of who these people might be, but I may be giving them a lot more credit than they need. This may be my ego talking here, and if it is, then it is what it is. But I told myself that it's going to be like a aha, I knew it. Or if, potential employers are coming across my page, and people look through your social medias now, and it really is a thing. People judge you by your social media, by how you portray yourself on social media. And most of us know that a vast majority of people cosplay on social media, and that is not who they are in real life, right? So it's hard to get a good grasp of who people are on social media. I can attest that who I am on social media is who I am in real life. I'm like this all the time because I've masked a lot, but in this space where I know I have to be authentically myself, I don't know how to mask. I mask in corporate spaces, which is the topic for today. I mask in corporate spaces, but I do not know how to mask in my real life. I have masked because I just figured I had to figure out how to navigate certain things with not knowing that I had ADHD this entire time. I just had to figure out how to navigate certain things because I lived in a neurotypical space, or people who knew how to operate as a neurotypical person, right? So I have masks, but my persona on social media and my persona in real life are one and the same. So I don't know how to not be this person because I've become comfortable in my skin. So I don't know how to not be this person. And because I know people look at your social medias, and because I know people are constantly like stalking and looking and reading and hoping for something, I have this fear that once I draw this line in the sand, there's no going back. And the fear is a truth. The fear is a truth. Once I draw this line in the sand, there's no going back. And the conversation that me and her were having was about me not being a corporate baddie. I had this revelation last month. I was watching Married to Real Estate with Egypt Sherrod and Michael Jackson. I think her husband's name is. I think Michael Jackson is. It's a lot of people in this world named Michael Jackson. Anyway, I was watching the episode where shout out to Clark Atlanta University, was the episode where they redid the Clark Atlanta University men's basketball room, the men's locker room. Not basketball, but just the men's locker room. They redid their locker room, and of course I wanted to watch because that's my school. So I definitely wanted to watch that. And simultaneously, she was helping another set of clients move into a bigger house. And there was a scene where she's sitting in her office, and like the epiphany that epiphanies do, it just smacked me upside my head because I'm like admiring her office and I'm like, wow, this is a really nice office. She has like, carpet and like the glass door and the desk and all the accoutrement. And I'm looking at it, and I mean, when I tell you it was like a slap, it was like a slap. And as I'm having this conversation in my head about how much I like her office, I was like, oh shit. I like the aesthetic of being in the office. I'm actually not a corporate baddie. And I laughed. I like belly laughed. I laughed so hard because it was like, bitch, you've been trying to put yourself in corporate spaces for the last 20 years and you do not fucking belong there. You don't belong there. That's not your space. And I started to dive a little deeper into it and realized, for me, for those of you who are listening, this may resonate with you as well. But for me, corporate baddie is a trauma response. Let me tell you how. I have known that I'm a creative person. I just had a lot of people who are older than me, who I collectively call the elders. And this could be people who are 2 years older than me, 5 years older than me, 10 years older than me, 20 years older than me. But people who have had longer life experience than I have post undergrad, right? So when I came out of college, I wanted to be a writer. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to actually be a journalist. And I originally, when I went to Clark Atlanta University, I had an undeclared journalism major. I was majoring, my plan was to major in journalism and marketing. That led me, I mean, saying that out loud and knowing where I am in my life, the irony is insane. But I wanted to be a journalist. I wanted to be a writer. And I just knew writing was my passion. I admired all of our Black writers, our Black elder writers who we look up to, the James Baldwins, the Toni Morrisons, the Zora Neale Hurstons, the Audre Lordes, the Bell Hooks, the Alice Walkers, the Lorraine Hansberrys. Like, I've admired all of these people, and I just wanted to, I also admired Oprah. Like, Oprah was definitely at the top of my list as far as journalists were concerned, because at that time, she was like the largest Black journalist who I knew. I didn't know about any other Black journalists besides Oprah. And I hadn't done my research just yet to know about any other Black journalists in the industry. But she was the one that I saw on TV, and I wanted to have my own talk show. Like, I wanted to do all of those things. Like, I've always known that I wanted to be a person in media. I wanted to be a person in communications. I knew I wanted to be a writer. Those things were innate in me. And I've had plenty of people over the last decade or so before then. So I'll cap it off in the last 20 years. Tell me that writing is not a career. You cannot make money being a writer. You need to choose something that is lucrative. Why don't you go be a lawyer? Y'all know I'm Black. So in every Black household, whether it's Southern, Caribbean, or straight African, everyone is either trying to tell you to be a lawyer, a doctor, or some other type of white collar executive, right? Some type of white collar position. Go do that. Because those are the jobs that make the money. Those are the jobs that's going to give you stability. That's all Black folks is thinking about across the diaspora. Go get a white collar job. And it has been a struggle for me to accept over the years, white collar is not for me. I am a creative. I want to go paint. I want to go paint. I want to go make things. I want to go out in nature. I want to learn photography. Like, I've always wanted to do all of those things. But at the same time, I was also told that I had to pick a lane. And because one, I was told being a writer specifically was not a career. Two, I had to pick a lane. And three, I had bills that I need to pay. I had to compartmentalize and suppress all of those parts of myself. And I had to go get a regular job, or what they call in the diaspora, a real job. I had to go get a real job. So that pushed me into, well, I wasn't even in the corporate sector yet. I started my life in nonprofit, and that don't make you no money unless you're an administrator or an executive administrator. That don't make you no money. Nonprofit is not for the money. Nonprofit is for the purpose. It is for the purpose. It is for the impact. And I started out in nonprofit, and I came out of college making 14K because I was working part time. So I mean, people told me to get a real job. I got a real job, and I still wasn't making no money. So, I mean, if I had the wherewithal within myself, I probably should have or could have pursued my career in writing and led myself into marketing somehow to become a copywriter. I wanted to do advertisement. I wanted to do jingles. I wanted to write jingles and ad libs and all of that's the stuff that I wanted to do. And then I ended up getting here, and I was like, I don't like this shit. Anyway, we'll bookmark that. We'll circle back to that. The irony. So I just went and got a real job, and I had to learn how to navigate traditional workspaces, be it nonprofit and corporate. When I finally transitioned into like real corporate, because I was in nonprofit for about 6 years, 3 years. I was in the nonprofit sector for 3 years. And my first corporate job was working as a marketing no. I was a production coordinator. I was a production coordinator at Prudential Financial in Newark, New Jersey, which is the headquarters of Prudential Financial. And I worked in the marketing department with sales team, printing and binding sales portfolios. That was my first official corporate job. And I was a long-term temp. So I could have stayed there for the rest of my life if I wanted to, because they were never going to hire anybody full-time for that position, because they were never going to budget for anybody to have that position full-time. So I was a long-term temp. I was making $15 an hour. And the goal was, hey, why don't you see this as an opportunity to navigate into corporate, move up. This is your entry rate. This is your door. At the same time, I got bored and figured, well, maybe I need to go get a master's degree, because that'll move me into another tax bracket. If you are listening to this podcast episode and you are in college at a 4-year university, and someone told you that getting a master's degree is going to move you into another tax bracket, they lied to you. All it's going to do is put you into debt up to your eyeballs. It is not going to make a difference. Having a master's degree is a sham. You are not a master of anything. You are a master of being scammed. That's it. That's all it is. I have a master's degree. I've been out of grad school for 10 years. And the first time I actually used my degree was like 2 years ago. It's a sham. Don't do it. Just become a specialist. And whatever you're going to do, become a specialist. Don't get a master's degree. You can get a certification that is equivalent to a master's degree, and that can move you into a tax bracket and make you the indispensable person that you want to be. Do not get a master's degree. It is a sham. Unless you are doing professional work, like a therapist, or if you're trying to be like a college professor or what have you, or if it's something that literally requires you to have a master's degree in order to get a licensure, then that's different. But if you just want to get a master's degree just to get a master's degree, save your money. So I started my master's program at the same time that I was working in corporate, and I saw this as an opportunity to try to move up, because at that time I saw a path into HR. So I wanted to go into HR. So I figured the master's degree would help me, give me the experience. At the time, the head of HR was a Black woman. Her name escapes me right now. But the head of Prudential Financial, the whole of Prudential Financial was a Black woman. And I did a paper on organizational communication. I took an OrgComm class, and I interviewed her for that paper. I'm telling secrets now, but we here. I interviewed her for that paper, and she wanted to see a copy of it. And I honestly believe she took my paper and she implemented all of the stuff that I recommended in that paper, because I tried to reach out to her for a recommendation and see if I can be like an HR assistant or whatever, and I never heard back from her. That's not the first time somebody did that to me. That happened to me several times over the last 20 years, where I thought I was networking with someone who could either be a mentor to me or be a sponsor in some way or help me navigate corporate, because I was so new to it. I didn't know how the politics was overwhelming for me. Corporate politics is very overwhelming. And I just I'm not that type of a person. At that time I was nice. I wasn't kind. I was nice. And I hadn't found my voice yet. I knew a lot of things. I know I'm a disruptor. I come in and I flip shit over. That's just who I am, because I'm a person that recognizes that we can do a lot of things smarter and not harder. And there are other creative solutions to solve problems, rectify systems, recalibrate systems, all of the things, right? I see those things, and now I know how to better communicate them. But at that time when I was younger, I did not know how to communicate that. So I came into resistance and discord with a lot of senior leadership, because I was telling these motherfuckers, y'all don't know what y'all doing, which I wasn't wrong, but there's just a way to go about things. And I did not have a way to go about things because, one, I never considered being in corporate, and two, fuck these people. If I'm telling you your shit is wrong, you should listen to me. So there were a lot of attitudinal things that I needed to work on, especially learning how to properly speak to people and not be so abrasive in my speech. So there were a lot of things that I needed to learn how to do. And also because people used to talk at me, so I would talk back. I would talk at them back, and they, everyone think they're an asshole until they meet one, and then you meet me and you realize I'm a little over the top because I operate in extremes, and then now, I'm getting blackballed, which happened to me more than once. So, corporate has been a very traumatic space for me, because I had to enter into this space because of capitalism. It's not what I wanted to do. And every time I thought I had an entryway to ladder up in corporate, because essentially that's one of the things you do. You either ladder up, you move up the corporate ladder, you become a specialist in a specific thing, or you just kind of, find your middle ground and you coast, right? But I'm a person who operates in excellence. I'm very high functioning. ADHD aside, I'm a high functioning individual and I operate in excellence. So if I'm going to do something, where's the adventure? I need the adventure. So where's the adventure? What are other nuances and other things that I can explore, so that I'm not just doing the same thing over and over again, because that's rote to me. And then if I'm doing things that's rote, I become inattentive and it's like autopilot, and then I get bored and then I opt out. So I have to keep myself in a space of exploration, which is great for me because it allows me to obtain information. And the more information that I learn, the more things I feel like I have to master. And it's just it's a therapeutic, exciting, and a creative space for me. And I really enjoy the process of life of learning. I enjoy learning. I enjoy learning new things and mastering new things, and how else can I grow? How else can I expand? That's just who I am. And unfortunately, the corporate spaces that I navigated did not provide space for me to do that. The majority of the corporate spaces, all of the corporate spaces that I entered in, only wanted me to do this thing. A lot of people wanted to control me. So when I attempted to opt out of corporate and try to move on my own, I didn't then have the tools necessary. Again, I did not know that I had ADHD at that time, but I also did not have the tools necessary to become independent of corporate, freelancer, contractor, entrepreneur. Like, I knew that was a path for me in order to be able to have more control. on how I navigate sustainability. I just did not know how to go about doing it. And when people attempted to help me, I got stuck in analysis paralysis, and I just had challenges moving forward. No matter how much certain people tried to give me steps, I just could not get out of the planning stage. I spun a lot. I was in my head a lot, and I didn't know how to move forward. And because I did not know how to move forward, I went back to what I knew, which was corporate. That's how being a corporate baddie became a trauma response, because you only got about 90 days, 6 months tops of me operating in this space of excellence. And I'm going to get bored and I'm going to opt out because I'm going to realize I don't fucking belong here. This is not for me. Because I can't undo excellence. I can't undo high functioning. I don't know how to do that. I do operate often between 75 and 85%, and my 75 to 85% looks like a lot of people's 110%. So because of that, because I am high functioning, because I operate at a level of excellence for me, no one else's standard, it is mine, because I have these standards for myself and I'm always in a space of high achievement, it make people see me and think, well, why are you not a corporate baddie? Because I'm a fucking creative. I that I'm not a corporate baddie because I don't do office politics. I don't like the traditional 9 to 5 schedule. It does not work for me. I do not actually like being in the office. I like the aesthetic of having an office. Like if I have my own office, or if I can like really build my office, my home office space the way I want to, I would be a happy camper. And I probably would never leave home. Because I would have all the things and all the accoutrements and the aesthetics that I want. The office life is not for me because I want y'all motherfuckers to leave me alone. I'm overstimulated in the office. I do not want to talk to you. I do not want to have coffee conversations. I do not want to have water cooler conversations. I want to go get my tea, not even my coffee. I want to go get my tea, order my lunch, sit at my desk, put on my headphones, listen to my music, and do my work. I do not want to talk to y'all. I have no desire to talk to y'all niggas at all. I want you to leave me alone. I don't want you coming behind me, standing over me at my desk, trying to figure out what the fuck I'm doing, or asking me questions that you could have sent to me in an email, or you could have sent to me in a Slack chat, or in the Teams chat, or whatever type of chat we're using. I don't need you coming to me, distracting me, talking to me for 30 minutes when you know I got a deliverable that you assigned for me to do. I can't navigate that. That's not taking a break from me. That's you interrupting my flow. So for those reasons, I am not a corporate baddie. I'm an ADHD introverted heifer that loves to create. That is who I am. And I navigate these spaces because I have bills. People are always ask in an interview, so why do you want this job? Because I have bills. I want to say these things in the interview. I have bills. I have bills to pay. This job is easy because I can do this shit in my sleep. Hire me for the job. But unfortunately, it is not in good taste. It is in poor taste for us to navigate interviews like that because we have to sell ourselves and we have to massage the employer, and we have to show that we are an asset to the employer. But then also at the same time, we have to make sure that the environment is the best for us. That the corporate culture has some semblance of emotional and psychological safety. It's never going to have that. These corporate spaces are never going to have emotional, psychological, spiritual, and physical safety. They're never going to have that, especially if you Black, especially if you are a non-Black person of color. You can move in stealth, particularly if you are Eastern Asian or even some Southeast Asian folks. You can navigate that shit. Latina, you can navigate that shit in stealth for so long until these folks is going to get tired of you. And then you're going to be just like the Black folk, complaining, mad. We don't get enough money. Y'all know. I know y'all don't get enough money. They don't like us. Hello? They don't give a shit. You keep moving in stealth. You're going to fuck around and find out early. Black people be trying to tell y'all just don't want to listen. It's cool. If corporate baddie works for you, be that. But also be informed. If you're going to navigate these corporate spaces, be informed. There are some white folks who are advocates, who operate as allies and advocates. Allies and advocates are two different things. I did a workshop on that. That's for them though. You got to pay me for that workshop. But I did it. I did a workshop on the difference between ally and advocate. Advocates take action. Allies are there for support, right? Your mentors are your allies. Your advocates are involved in the activism of the collective of people in the communities that they are supporting, right? They advocates take action, right? So, you may have some white allies and advocates that are in your corner that'll help you navigate this space. Wonderful. Shout out to them. Shout out to the white folks who are like, fuck this system. I'm going to help everybody as much as I can because I understand that I have privilege and I have a seat at the table and I want other people that don't look like me to have a seat at the table. Shout out to you. Blessings to you. May you prosper. May you and your lineage prosper for as long as you stay on this path. So I get that. I get that there are some white folks that are in spaces that are there to genuinely help. But as you are still navigating that with the small amount of white folks that there, because that's a small group, they are not outweighing the majority. That is a small group. Bless them, but that is a small group. So still in the midst of that small group, you have to be aware that these motherfuckers don't like you. They only like you as far as they can keep you, as far as they can reach you, as far as they can control you. Because at some point, if you start pulling on the puppeteer strings, now you're a problem. Ask me how I know. Ask me how I know. I did a podcast on that. Ask me how I know. So the idea of constantly having to revert back, not even the idea, my experience of constantly having to revert back into corporate spaces has been very traumatic for me because I want to opt out. I want to opt out. I don't want to go back because I have to go back. I don't want to go back under duress. I want to navigate corporate spaces because that's what I want to do. That's the projects that I want to work on because I'm a project-based girl. Those are projects that I want to work on. They mean something to me. They feel impactful. They have a strong semblance of creativity. I can see myself in that. I can see how I can help. I can see how I can be a quote unquote asset. I can see myself there. It feels restorative for me. So those are the things that I want to work on. That's why I want to navigate a corporate space. That's why I would want to re-enter a corporate space, but only for a short period of time because I'm not about to be your full-time employee for 365 days. That's not going to happen. You got me for 6 months. That's all I could give you, really. I could give you 6 months. I can definitively and confidently say that I can navigate a corporate space for 6 months. I cannot navigate a corporate space outside of that. 18 months was a lot. That I want to say that is the longest I have been in corporate. 18 months. The year passed and I was like, wow, I'm still here. I didn't think I was gonna make it. I didn't think I was gonna make it this long. Oh, I didn't. I hated my job. I hated my job, but I stayed because I was making a 6-figure salary. And it took me 22 years to get to a 6-figure salary. It took me a very long time to get to a 6-figure salary. And you got expenses. You're trying to level up. You're trying to thrive. You're trying to build. I'm trying to build my creative practice on the side. So I'm trying to use that money to fund the things that I need to fund to get the things that I need to get done. And I tried. I tried to do it that way. That's what they tell you. That's what the people them tell you. They tell you keep your 9 to 5 and use that money. Treat your 9 to 5 as a client and use that money to fund your business, to fund your creative practice, to fund your hobby, to fund your side hustle. I tried. I really did. But my mental health said no, bitch. You got to find another way, ho. Because this ain't it. We're drowning. We're drowning in the sea of corporate bullshit. We're drowning. You got to pull me out because we're not going to win here. We're going to unalive. And I don't want to unalive. I'm not ready to do that yet. I'm not ready. I'm not ready to be there. So I tried to do it that way. It did not work for me. And a month ago, I realized why it was never going to work for me. That's just not, I'm not a corporate baddie. I be cosplaying as one though. I really do. I cosplayed as a corporate baddie for a decade. I cosplayed as a corporate. I am not a corporate baddie. I could get this corporate money. I could show up because I got the training, and that's what I realized it was for. Right? I realized, and this may be for someone. So tune in. I realized a lot of the spaces that I was in, whether it was nonprofit, whether it was customer service, because I started my work history begins with customer service. My first job was working at a floral shop. So whether it's customer service, whether it's teaching, because I used to be a teacher, whether it's teaching or corporate, I realized that I navigated all of these different spaces, even working with a startup. I built a business from the ground up. Check a couple podcasts. I talk about that. I built a wellness business from the ground up with no experience that is still today thriving. Right? So I realized I learned all these things so that when it is time for me to apply them, I have the necessary training, I have the necessary experience to be able to apply them when it's necessary. Corporate baddie is a persona that I have, but I recognize that it is not for me to overuse this persona or activate this archetype out of duress. Because when I activate this archetype out of duress, I expend myself. I create a facade of myself that people like, because the corporate baddie is the likable one. The amount of people who befriended me because they thought I was just like them because they are corporate baddies. The amount of other corporate baddies that I attracted because they thought that was me. And then when they realize, oh shit, that's not who she is, the same amount of people who discarded me, who trashed me, who I became disposable to, because they realized that corporate baddie is just the thing that I do, is not who I am. Corporate baddie is not my identity. And a lot of people thought it was my identity because I activated it under duress. So then work became my identity. Productivity became my identity. Trying to navigate corporate politics became a survival tactic. Because corporate baddie, I started to embody corporate baddie. And I was operating in resistance the entire time because that's not a space of embodiment for me. That is a file that I pull out when I need to activate it. And then I put her back when she's done. Corporate baddie is who I need to ensure for my creative practice that the back of the house is tight. When people start pulling out agreements and contracts, I activate my corporate baddie. When I got to send out an email to kind of chin check somebody, then my corporate baddie shows up. That's who that is. That's just a layer of who I am that shows up in the spaces where she's necessary. She is not the skin that I wear. I wore corporate baddie like a suit. She was the sleeve, thinking about alter carbon. She was the sleeve. She was my sleeve. And, when I realized that I could take her off and I didn't have to wear her as a sleeve, I just needed to kind of activate that spirit within me and then set her back, let her rest. That was eye-opening. And all it took was 20 years of hell. And an episode of Married to Reality with Egypt Sherrod sitting in her office for that aha moment to hit me. This was supposed to be a blog post. It may still be that with this episode to complement it. But for those of you who have been and are Sitting in your office, whether you work from home remotely or you have to be in the office on a hybrid schedule. For those of you who are tussling with having to log on to your Teams, to your Slacks, whatever other portals that you all use, ask yourself, have you been navigating this space because capitalism is making you do that and you just haven't figured out a solve? Or do you genuinely like being in this space? There are definite signposts to determine whether or not you're a corporate baddie. If you genuinely want to move up the corporate ladder, if you want to boss up, if you want to be the CEO, the EVP, the SVP, the AVP, and all these other CFO, COO, and all these other corporate titles, if that is your passion, if that is your goal, if those are milestones that you want to achieve, then you probably are a corporate baddie. But if these titles don't mean shit to you, and it's really just about the work, and you're there because sustainability, this may be your prompt to figure out, one, your exit strategy, and two, how can you take this persona that you have embodied for however long that you have been in a space of embodiment and translate it into the thing that you desire to do. That the latter is where I am now. How to take this persona that I have embodied for the last 20 years and translate it into my creative practice. How to properly use this archetype of myself and not feel like because things aren't moving the way that I desire them to move, because in my humanness, I expect things to move quickly, but I have to remember in the spirit realm, time genuinely is a construct. And what I think time is and what they know time to be are two different things. So I'm reminded that instead of being impatient and activating the corporate baddie and putting that sleeve on as if she is the solve to my problems, I ask her, how can I better navigate this system? What are the tools that I need to put in place in order to make this run a little smoother as I am patiently waiting for the opportunities and the blessings and the things that I have been asking for, that I've been praying for, that I've been attuning to, that I've been vibrating on, that I've been manifesting come to pass. And not just come to pass when I meet that part of the timeline. That's the part that I'm working on now. Because every time I have applied for a full-time job in the last 7 months, crickets. And I'm like, is it me? I think my resume is pretty solid. Is it me? Are these people stalking my social media and, making judgments against me? Maybe. Or maybe I just need to sit down and stop trying to be something that I'm not, which is a corporate baddie. So, I hope that helps someone. I hope that helps someone today. And if you are having challenges navigating corporate, really sit down and ask yourself, are you a corporate baddie? Maybe your challenge is because you're not supposed to be there. And you trying to be something that you're not. And maybe you need to reimagine how you navigate that space. Let this be a prompt. Yeah. Thank you for tapping in to the Muses Lab. And Until we meet again. Thank you for tapping into the Muses Lab. I hope you enjoyed this week's adventure. Be sure to like this episode, subscribe on your favorite podcast platform, and share the wealth with others. Dive deeper into the lab by joining the Pleasure Frequency list at www.themuseslab.com. Receive weekly musings, early access, and exclusive drops, as well as discounts on products and services. Thank you once again for tapping in. Until next time.